Magnetic Men Club. We are back here on another Friday Live with you guys. As always, if you guys have any topics you guys want us to cover, then please drop them below. Please comment below. Please get into our communities, engage with us. Let us know what you guys want to talk about. You guys show up live, please comment, engage here. We're here to help you guys. Today, our topic is all about sexless marriage advice. Basically, we dropped a video on this the other day, and it really kind of took off. And so it told us, essentially through your engagement, that this is a topic you guys really want to talk about. This is something you guys really want to cover. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We're here to engage with you guys. I'm Chase. We've got my good friend Jared here.
Hey guys, hope everyone's having an amazing weekend. But yeah, it was weird because this video actually got equal comments. Women and men both had something to say about it. And of course, the women were spot on, and some of the guys were a little, they took little jabs and stuff. But it is an important topic because most of the time, guys that I talk to, guys I coach, that's the biggest problem is we had sex a couple times a day, or at least, out of 7 days, we had sex 5 days. And as the years go by, it goes to birthday sex, Christmas sex. It basically goes to maintenance sex. So
right.
I thought about doing the video on it, and I was married. This is years ago. And I mean, I didn't really have that problem, but I can understand how women may throttle off on the sex when there's some underlying things going on in the relationship that men just aren't aware of. So that's why I did the video of some of the other things maybe they're not thinking about. So
I feel that too, because I mean, it's not something I've ever really necessarily had an issue with. Maybe at times we got a little bit slow or something like that. I mean, I've been married since 2009, man. So you're talking like almost 14 years I've been married.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, like I said, there were seasons there that were maybe slower than others. And usually what I found is when I wasn't trying hard enough, when I wasn't going to the gym, when I wasn't getting out of the house, putting that space between us. Because we've talked about this before, how attraction grows in space and that kind of stuff too. At the same time, if you're just sitting around jerking off, playing video games all day, you don't really have anything going on, man. Like, she's not going to respect you. You're not going to turn her on. Like, it just doesn't do it for her. It's not that women want to have sex less. It's just that sex kind of means more to women. Like, it's not just this one-off thing. Sometimes they'll give you pity sex and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
It's just not a position you want to be in. That's where it just starts to slow down from there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say pity sex, but it's definitely maintenance sex. So a lot of women will just do enough to keep the husband from straying. And it's kind of like an employee that you underpay. Like, you pay them just enough to pay their bills, but you don't pay them too much so they get giddy and they get porky. You pay them just enough to stay hungry. A lot of women,
Right.
Whether they're smart about it and they know that, or they're doing it, and that's why is guys are just waiting. Oh, my birthday's coming up. I'm going to get some sex. And that's the wrong way to look at it because, as men, one of the biggest things that we want, whether you're in a relationship, a marriage, any of that stuff, is we want desire. We want our women to desire us. We want our women to freaking throw themselves at us. And so when a girl's just kind of like laying there, like, you done? I mean, we're going to do it. Don't get me wrong. It's going to get done. But, it doesn't help her. You kind of feel like, this wasn't fun. But there's a lot of marriages that they do that. They just have maintenance sex. And, that tells me a lot that the woman doesn't respect the husband in that relationship. There's no respect there. You're not going to have desire without respect.
That's
you
the
can
thing
have
too.
love. You can have love.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of women out there that will cheat on their husbands because they don't respect them. It has nothing to do with love. And they still love him. Like, hey, he's the father of my kids. He makes great money. He's a great provider. We have a nice house. He pays for my car. Yet she's banging Chad down the street. She doesn't respect him. There's no desire. So there's.
Oh, it happens. Yeah, for sure.
I think it's a lot.
Yeah, it's more common than I think any of us think. Like some of the breakthrough calls that I've actually been on with some of the men from this community and stuff too, That's one of the main topics that comes up. A lot of the time, they're just kind of they're frustrated with their marriage. They're frustrated with their lives. They're frustrated with themselves. They don't really know what to do. They don't really have any direction. Like these are
Yeah.
some big things. But one of the big things I know always comes up on these calls is like, she's walking around the house in skimpy clothes and like she won't give me the time of day. It is what it is. I think it's a lot more common than we think it is. And a lot of these guys just like it hurts them. Like you can tell, you can hear the pain in their voice when they're sitting there talking about this stuff too. And I feel for them, man. It's like, but you got to go work on yourself. That's one of the biggest things is like she just doesn't respect you. There's just no attraction there. Attraction grows in space. So man, go fishing, go hiking, go do some stuff, get out of the house, go on vacation, do whatever you got to do to just kind of put some space between you, go on a trip, whatever you got to do. On top of that, get into the gym. Obviously, if you're in the gym, you're going to have more energy. You're going to start looking better. These are big things that I did in my marriage when things started to slow down a little bit. It was like I leaned on the gym a lot. That was one of the big things is I would go grab my brother. I'd go grab some of my friends and stuff too. And we would just go to the gym and I would hang out at the gym a lot more. And after a couple of weeks of doing that, my energy levels were way up for one thing. And for another thing, I'm actually out of the house doing a lot more things. And so when I come home and I'm here and I'm looking better and it's just that the attraction is automatic.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And like you said, I mean, us as men, like everything's our fault. If your wife's not giving you sex, it's your fault. If she's lost respect, it's your fault. She's cheating on you, it's your damn fault. Everything, we're the head of the relationship. We're the head of the household. So everything falls on us. So in the beginning, a lot of guys, and you've been on these calls too, where they say, when we were in a relationship, we had sex, we were banging like rabbits and it was amazing and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's great. You both are experiencing chemical dependency on each other. Dopamine and oxytocin are slamming into both of your systems and you have this euphoric effect. The problem is it can't sustain itself. That's every brand new relationship. You can't get enough of each other, but eventually that kind of subsides and it kind of goes down. That's natural. You can't stay high forever. Sure. And so as you get to know that person, as you maybe move in with them, they get married, all of this shit, because this is a long process. This isn't like we had sex 7 days a week last week and all of a sudden, no. This is years. It's a long cycle. A lot of guys realize there's things that you have fallen off on during that time. You're not the same person you were when she first met you. You can't be, because if you were the same person, then you would probably have roughly the same results. You might not be getting sex 7 days a week if you have kids now, but she'd still have desire for you. She'd still have that wanting to be near you and, hey, let's go bang out in the laundry room real quick. The kids are sleeping. She'd initiate this stuff. But oftentimes what happens is, especially in marriages with kids, guys, I hate to say this because we are living in this kind of weird time where our grandparents and maybe even our parents didn't do these things. Woman has a career, then she comes home and watches and takes care of and cleans and cooks and does all of this shit for the kid. And by the time 9 or 10 o'clock rolls around, your fat ass has been watching football all night. She's done all the work. You're horny. She's tired. Well, no shit. Well, yeah, she's going to be tired. You haven't done anything. So she's looking at you now as another kid. She's like, I just fed this guy. Yep. Just picked up his damn underwear off the ground. They keep telling us nasty. So she basically has another child. How can she respect you? How? It can't happen. So you got to start looking at the things you used to do. Now look at the things you're doing now that are different, and then ask yourself, would I screw me? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it either. It's always our fault. It's always our fault.
100%.
You know?
I completely agree with that too. Like it really comes down to the amount of effort that you're putting into things. Obviously, yeah, that's one big thing you got to ask yourself is like, am I putting in enough effort? Would I respect me? Would I want to do anything with me? Yeah. And often I think the answer is no. I think for a lot of us, the answer is no. And then you got to ask yourself, well, why is that? What exactly am I not doing? What exactly am I doing? Why don't I have the energy that I used to? That kind of stuff too. I mean, there's a lot of factors there, right? Are you working out is a big thing. Are you even getting out of the house to even go and do anything else, right? Do you have any hobbies? Are you working on cars? Doesn't matter what it is. Whatever you like to do, just go do more of that and put some space between you. That's a big part of it too.
Yeah.
That way, when you are home, like I've noticed that when I go on long trips and stuff and I come home, my wife's all over me. Like she's all over it. That's all she wants to do.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the big things too that I've noticed is like, yeah, she's upset that I'm kind of going on a trip and stuff, but like, I don't feel guilty about it. I'm going on a trip. We're cool. I come home and I'm here and we're cool. It's fine. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing too when she goes on trips, and then when she comes home, like she's into it. That's exactly what she wants to do. Mm-hmm. And if you're on your game, she's not even going to look elsewhere. She's not even going to think to look at Chad down the street. She doesn't care what Chad's got going on. As long as she's home and she's satisfied, it's cool. So you got to work to keep her satisfied. That's one big thing. That's on you. Only you can do that. You can't just expect her to be satisfied, because I promise you, if you do expect her to just be satisfied just because you're you, she's looking at Chad down the street. I'm sorry. That's just the answer. That's just what she's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that even if a girl's married, she has options. I mean, everybody's after them. You know, my girlfriend's probably got her freaking DMs filled up with thirsty guys. I don't give a shit. It doesn't bother me one way or the other, but it may start bothering you if she's giving them attention. And the reason why it should bother you is because you're not giving her that attention. She's going to look for it someplace. It's going to happen. And so
it's not hard to find.
Oh God. I mean, do one Facebook post and you get all these guys like Goddess, these simp bastards. It's like, to me, it's funny. But there's a lot of other reasons why a woman is going to not even withhold sex. She's just not interested in sex with her mate. And yes, cheating is a reason. I actually have a whole other video dropped specifically. I called it The Betrayed Husband. It's specifically about cheating. So we kind of took this part out of this video and kind of went over the other reasons. And we knocked out quite a bit of them. It's maybe you're not taking care of yourself. You know, that's usually especially if you were very active in the beginning with her. Maybe she goes to the gym. My girlfriend runs like 1,000 miles a day. I'm not effing going to run anywhere. I don't run from anybody, but she runs. She takes really good care of herself. If I blew up to be a 300-pound fat ass, will she still love me? Maybe, but I wouldn't want to fuck me. I mean that it's true. So if your girlfriend or wife has taken really good care of herself and she gets her nails done and her hair and all this, and you've kind of let yourself go, well, yes. I mean, why would she have that desire for you? Why would she want to do that? She's going to do just enough to keep you from going someplace else. That's all she's going to do. Maintenance sex.
I mean, one thing that I've realized is, it does actually start with you. Like, the big thing is understanding that, like, if she goes and gets her hair done, she goes and does something, like she comes home and she wants you to notice her and you're not noticing her, obviously she's going to go look for that attention elsewhere. So that's one big thing there too. But like what I've realized as a man, as in confidence and charisma, all of those things, I kind of project out what I think I am. And so if I'm not confident, I don't think I'm good enough, or, you know, I feel like I'm getting too fat, or it all has to do with how I feel. I start to project those feelings outward, right? If I'm feeling self-conscious, I project that out. I mean, that's what they tell you in interviews. That's what they tell you on sales meetings. You've got to have confidence. And if you want to have confidence, like, you actually have to believe that what you're selling, what you're doing, is worth it. Right. And if you don't think that you're worth it because you haven't been trying hard enough, because you know deep down that you're not doing everything you should be doing, you're going to project that out. And as soon as you project that out, you're automatically telling her that you're not good enough. It's not that she thinks you're not good enough. Right. It's that you think you're not good enough, and you're projecting that out there, and she doesn't respect you for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. But she fell in love with you for a reason. So you almost just got to kind of go back to that. It's like, what were some of the things I was doing that actually got her in the first place? Now that you have her, doesn't mean you get to ignore all that. You know, I always tell guys, you always have to keep dating your girlfriend or your wife or your LTR. You have to keep dating them, switch things up. You don't have to freaking tell them everything. You know, that's another thing I didn't add into the video. I probably should have, but the video is getting kind of long. Sometimes the reason why women withhold sex or just don't feel like having sex is you're just an emotional bitch, and all you do is complain and have nothing to do. All you do is make negative comments to her, negative comments about the kids, negative comments about the job. I'm in this situation because I married you. Like you're just a negative little bitch. And then you 10 o'clock at night, you're like, hey, baby, why would she? What's coming out of your mouth? It's all negative. You have nothing positive to say about anything.
Right.
And and even if you have a negative comment, turn it into positive or make a suggestion how it could be better. But no, a lot of guys have that problem where they just I know sometimes we're stuck in a job that we don't like. We're, maybe just making enough. We're just getting by. She's working, the kids are screaming, they all got to go different places. But if you're just going to be negative about it the whole time, she's going to shut down. She's just going to be like, you know what? We're just going to deal with this until they're 18 and out of the house and I'm freaking done. That's a whole other possibility of why it goes to respect. Like, this guy is nothing but a negative Nancy. The other flip side is you're just too emotional. You tell her everything and you cry and you're this emotional, like basically she's dating a girl. She's married to another girl. Women don't like that. They want a strong center point. They want a strong man in their life. They don't want to hear that you have problems and you're crying about it. They don't mind that you say, hey, I'm having some problems at work, money's tight. But as soon as you start crying about it and bitching about it and not coming up with solutions or not having action steps to correct it, it's going to wear on her. Now you're affecting her psychology. How can she get wet? I mean, Jesus.
Well, now she's going to feel like she has to be the man. She's going to feel like she has to step up because you're not stepping up. You're not confident. You don't feel like you're going to rise out of this situation. You're causing all these financial insecurities for her. And so she's like, man, I got to step up because this guy's not going to do it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, she's not going to be turned on by that. So that's one big major factor, too. That's one thing I've noticed with a lot of really insecure guys is the fact that they're always looking for validation from her first. That's the biggest thing, too, is like something happened at work or they got cut off in traffic. So they go home and tell her all about it just so she'll validate how he feels about it. That's just one part of it. That's one big part of it, too. And so the other thing is basically with a lot of men who were really insecure, they're really critical of everybody around them. They won't look at themselves. They won't turn the mirror around and say, hey, maybe it's me that needs to change. Maybe it's me that's causing a lot of these problems. Yeah. Insecure guys really just don't have an ability to do that. And so in a lot of cases, they are critical of everybody around them. They're critical of their parents, their kids, their bosses, their lovers. Their wives take the brunt of it. Their girlfriends take the brunt of it, first and foremost, because they feel like they can criticize her the most. Like, well, if you would work harder, if you got up earlier, I would get up earlier. If you would go to the gym, I would go to the gym, that kind of stuff. I see a lot of that stuff, too, with a lot of insecure guys is because they don't take ownership. One thing that I would recommend, and one thing in this community, what I recommend to guys is, you need to go read the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And in that, he explains that like he was running an entire platoon of Navy SEALs. And so what he said that the biggest thing that he noticed with a lot of these guys who weren't going to be successful in that program were the guys that didn't take ownership. There was always the guys that would just push it off on somebody. Well, if so-and-so would have done this and so-and-so would have done that. And so he always stepped up to take ownership. And that's what made him the leader. That's why they promoted him to the leader. Is because he was always, it was my fault, man. It was on me. I don't know. I should have done better. I should have prepared more, that kind of stuff. And when you look at things that way, your whole life starts to change. You become a lot less insecure because you see that you have control over your life. Insecure people have no control. They don't see the control. They just think that it's everybody else and everything else that's happening to us. It's the government. It's the freaking fluoride in the water, man. There's all kinds of other things that are going on. Just keep me from being the best me. And it's like, no, it's just you. You just need to do more, man. That's all it is.
No, I love that. I remember that book. I actually forgot the name of it, but when you started talking about it, I'm like, yeah, Yeah, I remember that. So without sounding it's always our fault, even though it is, there are some situations too that aren't our fault. And I did bring that up in the videos. You know, women do get older, so do we, but medications certainly affect libido. There's situations in her life that you might not know about because you don't communicate like you used to. Maybe her mom's sick, or a good friend from high school that she's been best friends with for years or college is sick, and you don't really talk to her anymore. You're just talking about the kids and kind of family business. How's the kids doing? Homework. You're not really
Maintenance.
engaging. Yeah, it's just maintenance talk. And you don't know these things. Well, that's affecting her. So the whole point of my video was you have to talk to your wife or your girlfriend about this. You can't talk at them like, hey, we haven't had sex in 6 months. Why? I mean, that'll be an easy way to get something thrown at you. There's a certain way to do it, but before you have that conversation, you should again start taking inventory of what you used to do and ask yourself, am I still doing those things? And be honest with yourself. You can't say, well, yeah, I still talk to her. No, I mean, do you still have the conversations you used to? Or now are your conversations centered just around kids or work? Or did you pay this bill? Or the car needs brakes? Talking to them. And if you can honestly say, yeah, no, that's what we talk about, then you're not stimulating her. I'm not saying that's your fault. What I'm saying is that's going to be a response to her. She's going to kind of feel like this is just a business now. It's a business arrangement. We have kids. We have this house, which is the structure of the business. We have employees, which are the kids. Basically, this is how, that's how they're going to view it. It's like,
That's the thing. Like, what they don't tell a lot of these guys too is that fault doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's her fault. It doesn't matter if it's your fault. It doesn't matter if it's society's fault. It doesn't matter if it's the government's fault. The fault and the blame doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the bottom line. It always just like affects things negatively. It doesn't affect anything positively. And like, because it's not like she's going to go, oh, it's my fault. I really should have been trying harder. You're right. I really just should do more, and we should have more sex and this and that thing. It's just not how it works. She's not attracted, and she's not attracted because of whatever factors are going on. That's where extreme ownership comes in, because fault doesn't matter. But ownership does. If you take ownership and you start to fix things and you tell her, like, no, I got this, man. I know a lot of this stuff is going on, but I got this. We're going to be fine. I'm going to solve this. It doesn't matter how you're going to solve it. It doesn't matter if you have a plan. If you believe that, she'll believe that, and she feels safe and she feels secure. And as long as she feels safe and secure, she's going to take care of everything else. She's just going to believe and trust that you're the guy who's got this handled. No problem. Okay, cool. He's got this handled. He's my rock. If she has to go and deal with all the people, she has to set up all the meetings, she has to go make all the money, she has to make sure everything's going to be fine, she's the man now. And like, there's just no way she's going to be attracted to you. She's not going to respect you if she has to step up and be the man. So if you just take care of those things, and those things are automatically, she doesn't have to worry about them, she's going to feel that attraction for you. That alone is going to create more attraction. And that's one major part of this, is there's a role for a man and there's a role for a woman. And I know society tells us different. Society's got us all jacked up on this stuff. But the reality is, traditionally, and the way it's always been since the dawn of freaking time, for 100,000 years of human development, the man has a role and the woman has a role. And if the man isn't stepping up into his role, the woman feels like she has to step up into that role, and nobody's comfortable, nobody's happy, and nobody feels fulfilled in that kind of a situation. And so that's one of the major things, is understanding that, are you stepping up? Or are you actually taking control of these things? Are you actually handling these things? Maybe you do have an ability, maybe you don't have an ability. Like I said, fault doesn't really matter, but attraction is still going to be affected by that.
Right. No, I agree. Always go back. There's a reason why she married you, or maybe you're in a long-term relationship. There's a reason why you got to the level you are now. You just have to figure out what that was and what you're not doing, and then kind of reverse engineer it and then keep doing that. Because I said in the video, women are usually the ones that will always change for a relationship. they kind of adapt and they want to nurture that bond. So they're the ones who usually change for it. But when there's a situation that comes up that's affecting the man, i.e., no sex, or there's something I'm not happy, that's the only time they change. They're not changing for the relationship, they're changing for the circumstance. There's a circumstance, and only when that circumstance has a solvable solution, a man will make a change. And then once they make that change, here's the problem. They start seeing a change in their girlfriend. They're like, oh my God, okay, he gets it. He's helping out with the kids more or whatever it is. He's only going to do that long enough to stop the suffering. And then he's going to go right back to the way he used to be. And then she's going to go right back to the way she used to be. Because you're still not communicating. We're only going to change enough to stop the bitching, basically, to stop whatever it is. And then once she stops bitching, we're like, oh, cool, she's happy. I'm going back to watching TV. The change has to last. That's kind of where I interject and say yes. And it makes it worse because once you start making her happy, like, okay, he gets it, she starts realizing he has the ability to change. But once you go back to the exact same person you were, it makes it worse because now she's like, this fucker ain't even trying. Like, he tries enough, but she knows you can, but it makes it even worse. So you have to be committed to making that change. And again, it could be just something as simple as, listen, when I get home at 5, your fat ass is already watching TV. The kids are screaming. Their homework isn't done. Help me out. Sure. He did that for a couple weeks. He starts getting sex. All of a sudden, 5 o'clock, she's home. He's back on the couch. And maybe he'll do it on a Wednesday this time or whatever. He's going back to the way he used to be. So you have to make that change. Whatever you're sparking, you ever see in her says, okay, this is making her happy. And I'm not saying like our job is to make them fucking happy. I could care less about that. It's what are you doing to alleviate this situation? Meaning we used to have sex. I want her to be passionate. I want her to love me again. I'm not doing some of these things in the house I should be doing. So it's not about making her happy. That's completely irrelevant. It's about giving her that space to say, okay, he can contribute, or whatever it is she's saying, I need more help with this. It's making her feel heard, and it's making her feel like, okay, this is actually a team. That's really what it is. It's got nothing to do with her happiness. It's like, okay, we're a team here.
That's just it. It's got nothing to do with her at all. It really doesn't. It has everything to do with, like, are you driven? Or are you even working towards something? Do you have good habits? Do you have good goals? Do you have ambition? Are you even working towards something? Are you trying to work towards something greater than yourself? Or is this enough for you? Is this whole life that you're living is just enough, right? So we're just going to sit around and waste all our time watching TV and playing video games. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have your relaxation time. I mean, by all means, relax. But like, do you need to do it every night? Do you need to do it every single weekend? What are you working towards? Are you building towards a better life, or are you just simply satisfied with what you have? Because we as humans, we're never satisfied. We might say that we're satisfied, but as soon as you're satisfied and you're sitting around watching TV all day and you're just getting fatter, like, you're just waiting to die. Yeah. That's the biggest problem. Is like, you just don't have any goals. You don't have anything to work towards. You don't have a purpose to drive you forward. It has nothing to do with her. Your purpose and your drive to get it is what's really going to keep her interested in you and interested in this whole situation. Mm-hmm. That's one of the big parts of this. That's why in our program, one of the big things that we focus on is making sure that you have a definite purpose. That you're clear on exactly where you're going in life, that you're clear on the person that you want to be, because as long as you're working towards that, because obviously if I want to work on myself, I got to go to the gym. I got to get bigger. I've got goals for my body weight. I've got goals for my muscle mass. I've got goals for where I want my income to be. I've got goals for my business. I've got goals for things that I really want to build into. And I can tell you one thing, that every single time I check off one of those goals, my wife's into it. She's like, oh my God, he's driven. He did it. Look at how happy he is that he did the thing that he wanted to do. He set the goal and he went and he checked it off and he did it. Mm-hmm. And that makes her happy. It has nothing to do with her. She just wants to see me achieve what I've set out to achieve. And if
Right.
I don't have a drive and I don't have a purpose, neither does she.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And that was actually another reason, in the beginning, you may have had goals. You may have told your girlfriend at that time, now you're married, I'm going to start this business. It's going to be a pressure washing, whatever the hell it is. I'm going to someday, the way this business that you're working in now, I can wipe the floor with my competition. Great. Well, you keep talking about it. You get kids involved. One day I'm going to keep doing this. Like, you lose the sexiest thing about a man to most women is not their looks. Women love drive. They love a man who has hustle, love a man who has passion about the thing he does. I don't care if you're a painter and you paint houses. If you fucking love painting houses and you're passionate about it, she's going to love that you love painting houses. If you love freaking putting crutches together at the hospital and you're the best crutch builder on the hospital, a little weird, but she's going to freaking love that this guy, he puts crutches together faster than anybody. I'm so proud of him. It's hustle, it's drive. It has nothing to do with looks. So they fall in love with potential. Well, you trick them because now, he's going to be this, he's going to be that. And in 5 years, you're a fat fuck and you haven't done anything. That's where you pull the wool and say, surprise, this is who I am. Well, of course she's going to be mad about that. She's going to be like, listen, this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't the deal that we kind of made. I wanted you to be self-employed or whatever. I wanted you to experience your dream, but you failed yourself. And now you're dragging everybody else down with you. You're negative. You're fine now with your lot in life. Sunday football you live for. All of these things just bring a woman down. Like, it's not that she doesn't love you. Like, you don't love yourself. Like, you're not the person you were. So how can she love the version of you now when she loved the version of you who you represented yourself to be? You're two different people.
Like, talk is cheap. You can talk about it all day, every day. You can talk about how you're going to be the greatest entrepreneur that ever lived. You can talk about how you're going to climb all the way up the corporate ladder and you're going to be the boss. You can talk about all those things, but when all you do is go to work every single day, you come home, you watch TV, you're just getting fatter and fatter on the couch, and you're always talking about how you're going to be that one day, but you're not actually doing anything about it. That's where things are going to start to go stale. That's when she's going to be like, oh man, like, yeah, you say that, but like, you're not going to do anything. Like, yeah, you can talk about it all day and you talked about it in the beginning and it was awesome, but like, I haven't seen you do shit in 2 years. All you've done is get fatter. Right. So that's the biggest thing, is obviously things are going to get stale. And that entirely has to do with you and your drive and your purpose and what you're doing, right? If all you do is you go to work and you're pissed off that things aren't just being handed to you, that you're not entitled to what you thought you were, and that you have to work for your skills and you have to work for the body that you want, and then you just don't do it. You just go home and you sit on the couch and you play Call of Duty. I'm sorry, man. Like, it's just going to go stale. It doesn't work that way. You're not entitled to her love. You're not entitled to respect. You don't just get those things. You have to work for them. You have to prove that you are worth believing in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you guys, we're not just bashing you too. Women can put a false narrative on themselves too. This is why I said in the beginning, most guys, their society says guys are serial daters and guys are, this and that. And it's just not true. But, a lot of times we don't court them enough. We don't really vet them. We find them hot. We just want to marry them. We just want to move in. And this is why
they can be shallow.
Yeah. This is why marriage rates suck. Half the time she's probably a dickhead and you married a dickhead, and it's never going to work. This is why 55% of all first-time marriages end in divorce. You weren't supposed to be together. So stop forcing this. If you're supposed to be together, you take enough time to make sure that you're compatible, that your goals and her goals are the same. Make sure that if you want kids, yes, I want kids. How many? Like all of this shit really should be spelled out before anything happens so that there's no miscommunication. Who's going to handle the finances if we get married? If we have kids, are you going to stay home? No, I'm going to work. Okay, that means we got to get a nanny or whatever. There's no surprises then. You kind of have a blueprint of the next 5 years or whatever it's going to be before you start having kids.
Right.
You don't just wing it. You don't wing it in a business. You don't just open up a business like, how many employees? I don't know. Let's do 2. Marketing, you don't wing it in a business. So why would you wing it in a marriage? Most people wing it in a marriage. And
right.
This is what happens.
That's the big thing too. Like when I got into entrepreneurship and like actually got into marketing and stuff too, one of the major things that I realized in sales and marketing and psychology and all that kind of stuff was that the cornerstone of a relationship is expectations and trust. Like obviously if you set expectations and you don't meet expectations, trust falls apart. Mm-hmm. And the relationship is doomed from that point forward. And so like a lot of the time, we don't sit down as a married couple, as a boyfriend, girlfriend, and set those expectations. Like obviously we have the expectations. No matter what you do, you have expectations and she has expectations. And if you two aren't talking about those expectations,
right,
they're not going to get met. And if they don't get met, trust is gone. Once trust is gone, the relationship is doomed. Yeah. That's reality for any relationship. Mm-hmm. But one thing you touched on too is the compatibility of it all. Like you have to sit down and ask yourself, like, is this something I really even want to work for? Like, is this who I want to be with? Is it like she wants a certain life and I want a certain life? And if those lives don't match, you're incompatible and you're always going to be incompatible because you can't just sit down and expect the other person to make all those concessions, right? They want what they want. They're not going to stop wanting what they want. You want what you want. And you're not going to stop wanting that. And so you always have to ask yourself, like, am I compatible with this person? And do I have courage enough to end this relationship, to get this divorce if I need to, if we are not compatible? Yeah. Do we have courage enough to walk in different directions and go work on ourselves in different ways, right? And a lot of people never really sit down to ask themselves those things. They just kind of let things crumble to the ground and then they just hate each other forever after. And they never end up together again. And then end up with somebody else who they're incompatible with. They end up repeating the same mistakes over and over and over and over again with the same kind of people.
They do. And you know, compatibility is something that you can change, you know, as you get older. You know, I'm 48. I wasn't the same person when I was 38. And I was certainly not the same person from 38 to 28, from 28 to 18. Maybe 10 years or so, you kind of, everything changes in your life. You know, a decade goes by, so you're a different person. You might hopefully still have the same character, the same moral compass, all of this. You still want to be a good person, but your ideals might be a little bit different. You have more experiences that you can draw upon. And I remember I made this mistake in my marriage. I'm going to say 26 when we got married. I'm never good at dates, but I think it was like 26. I was out of the military. I had time to do, but I was out of and we never talked about this kind of stuff. And I kind of took on some additional responsibilities that I felt I had to, but I didn't really. I kind of put them on my own shoulders. I had that rescuer role mindset. That's what we talked about before. You're either a hero, a villain, or a rescuer in any relationship you're in. You're one of those three. And even in a sexless marriage, let's circle back. Who are you in that relationship? Well, you villainized your wife because she's not giving you sex.
Right.
You're you're basically the poor me, I'm not having sex. So you're the victim, right? You don't have to have it. You only need two parties to have a conflict. The third is irrelevant in this one. So back to what I was saying is I had that hero complex where I kind of did some things I always felt bad about. Like I always felt like, why the fuck did I do that in my relationship? And it ended up tanking the relationship. It really did. It took years, but it made it over a year. I got bitter and bitter and I'm like, what the hell? and it ended up tanking the relationship. Now, if I just had a conversation, again, 26, I didn't know. This is at 36, I'm going divorce, 10 years. All of that probably could have been avoided. This is what I expect. I'm not willing to do these things. Her saying, this is what I expect. I'm not willing to do these things. We all go off assumption, but you don't talk about it. So she's assuming these are what's going to happen. I'm assuming this is what's going to happen. And then you have a dysfunctional relationship, i.e., the marriage is dysfunctional. Most people should just not be married. You get married under God, and that's kind of a bullshit statement because God doesn't bless most marriages. There's no blessing generally.
Absolutely.
He will bless them.
There's no requirement. Yeah.
There's only very few blessed marriages, and you get to see them. They're the ones that last 50, 60 years, ones that they're so compatible. Those are blessed marriages. Most marriages aren't. They're just marriages, But it's you made the choice. You're married. You guys made a vow. You either need to fix what's broken or, like you said, just walk away. It's fine, but have that conversation. Most people just don't talk to each other anymore. They still go off assumptions.
Well, one big thing, too, is that those assumptions affect your decisions. They affect her decisions. They affect your decisions. You guys aren't even talking about it. So she's making choices because of those assumptions. You're making choices because of those assumptions. And neither one of you are on the same page.
Right.
I realized this early on in my marriage when I used to feel bad for going on trips. I felt bad going out with my friends. I felt bad when I had to go on a long extended trip, something along those lines. And so I stopped doing it for a while. Yeah. Like I actually stopped going out. I stopped doing a lot of the things that I was doing before, because I felt bad leaving her home with the kids. And that was all me. Like I didn't even talk to her about that. I just stopped doing it because I felt bad about it. I felt guilty because I was guilt tripping myself on it, right? I was like personifying these things onto her and saying, okay, well, she probably feels this way when I leave. And so I probably just shouldn't leave anymore. So it's affecting my decisions, but it was all in my head, man. Like all that stuff was in my head. And then eventually I made this conscious choice to be like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to feel bad about that anymore. I'm just going to do it because I realized this is something that helps. This is something that increases attraction. This is something that keeps us happy. And I was right all along, right? As soon as I started talking to her about it, like, I'm not going to feel bad about this anymore because I realized that when I'm doing that and I expect, I'm not going out with my friends. So why are you going out with your friends? I'm not going on trips. Why are you going on trips? Right. And so it starts to affect everything down the line. And it's so subtle that you don't realize that's occurring. You just simply felt guilty about a night out with your friends. You just simply felt guilty about going on an extended trip, going on a fishing trip, going deep sea fishing, whatever it was. And she's home with the kids. And so like, she has to be able to do something. That's all in your head, man. Like that is all in your head. Yeah. That's the biggest thing you have to understand there. And the biggest thing there too, is that you're going to get pissed off as soon as she goes out with her friends, as soon as she goes on an extended trip, right? Still all in your head. Yep. And so that's the biggest thing is like, well, I did this for you. And so you weren't supposed to do that. And she didn't even know because you didn't even talk to her. You guys weren't even on the same page.
Yeah. Like you said, assumptions trigger a lot of things. Number one, they trigger whatever biases you have, whether it's a confirmation bias, even old rules get triggered by assumptions. The thought of she should be home with the kids. She's the mom. That's a rule that you've created. She might not have that rule created. Your other rule is I should be out every Friday with the guys. That's tradition. That's a rule you created. But when she wants to go out on a Friday and it's your turn to watch the kids, like she's letting you get mad at her because she's challenging your rule. All of these things are based off your assumption. You've assumed these. You haven't actually talked to her and made a blueprint, basically. It's not like a hard thing, but just an understanding of what's going on. And the biggest one is confirmation bias. I talked a lot about in that video because a lot of guys think she's withholding sex, she has to be cheating. And maybe, but a lot of it is assumptions, which is triggering a confirmation bias in you that she has to be cheating because she's not giving me sex. See how selfish that sounds? She's not giving me what I want. So she's going to get it from somebody else. That's the thought, right? Well, frame the thought differently. What am I not doing to make her have desire for me? So even if she is cheating, she has to find it from somebody else. Again, maybe I'm a fat fuck. Maybe I'm not helping around the house. Maybe I'm not talking. Maybe I have no passions, no purpose. Maybe I'm just negative. Well, all of that's your fault. All of it's your fault.
Well, the biggest thing too is you're always going to be benefited by working on those things. There's no world where you just get to sit on your ass and not do anything and not be driven and not have any ambition where you still get success and she's still attracted to you because you're not entitled to anything. And I think a big misdirection.
You're talking to Republicans, right? Like Democrats, they're entitled to everything, right?
You know how it is, though. That's the way society has gotten. Like with all this woke culture and all this stuff, right? Like especially in the United States and in Western cultures and all that kind of stuff too. Like everybody has this certain entitlement about them. Man, I've lived in Mexico for 3 years, and one thing I can tell you is like it's not that there's no entitlement here. There is, but every time I go back to the United States, it's obvious. It's immediately obvious how entitled people there are. And I see it in the airport. I see it at the restaurants. I see it on the streets going down the freeway in California and stuff too, man. They are the most entitled people I've ever come across. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing or anything like that. I mean, granted, like they've all had this grade A first class life their whole life. And so obviously they feel entitled. And that's just the way society has pushed us. That's the way that media has pushed us. That's the way that, all the shows that we watch, everything that we consume, everything makes us feel more entitled to what we have. Mm-hmm. But reality is you're not entitled to anything. You're entitled to what you work for. And there's no world where you work on yourself and you fix yourself and you bring these things up. You get a better body. You get more fit. You build your skills up. You get more driven. You have more goals. You have more purpose and dreams in life, and you actually start to achieve some of those things. You're always going to be benefited by doing that. It doesn't matter how your relationship goes. The relationship can completely end, but the next one is going to be so much better, even if there is a next one or not. Maybe you just continue to work on yourself and you're just happy with your life. Like, have you ever considered that? So that's one of the big things is understanding that you're always going to be benefited by working on yourself. There's no reality where you work on yourself and you're not benefited by it.
Right. Absolutely. I 100% agree. The only thing you're entitled to in this world is taxes and death. That's it. I mean, you're going to do both. But like you said, even if worst case scenario, she's cheating on you and you end up leveling up yourself and maybe you went through a divorce and all this, well, she did you a favor, and in one way she did. Like you got rid of the problem you have caused probably, but now you know not to do it again. And again, listen, guys, most of the time it has nothing to do with cheating. It really doesn't. There's a video I dropped. You can go under a YouTube channel. I gave you like 10 signs she's cheating. If she's doing like 5 or 6 of those, she's cheating. I mean, Jesus.
No doubt.
Not hard to figure out, but you have to have some type of proof on that. Most of the time it's something you're doing. And honestly, guys, most of the time it's something silly. It's not silly, but it's basic that you're not seeing. She's not telling you because you're not having a conversation with you. It's if you just open up, she might just say, listen, Greg, I mean, I've heard this before. The way we have sex is you just take me straight to Pound Town. Like you do nothing else. Like there's no foreplay. There's no kink. There's nothing. You used to do that. Now it's just get it in, get it out. Well, this is how you get maintenance sex. She can't come that way. So it's the way you're having sex with her is another completely different reason why she doesn't want to have sex. It's not how she gets off. So having this open dialogue and asking her empowering questions, giving her the forum to tell you what's going on. You don't want to do it in an accused way where it says, hey, Beth, over the last couple of years, I'm lucky to get sex 3 times a year. Why? that's accusing.
That's going to get you nowhere.
It's going to get you something thrown at you, or it's going to get you like you just put her on the defensive. Coming off this video, a better question is, hey, Beth, last couple of years, our love life has really not really been that fulfilling. I know it's probably something I'm doing or not doing. Can you help me with this? Like asking, like, what is it that I used to do, or what's changed in our relationship? I want to get back to that passion we used to have. And if she loves you, she will tell you. She might be like, yeah, Greg, it's all you do. Like, you don't do anything else. Okay, great. Or it's something as simple as all I do is the dishes, I clean, I'm your maid. I became your mom. As soon as I married you, now I have the kids and you. You're a fucking kid. Grow up and be a man. Help her around the house. It might, and it sounds simple, but guys don't process this way. So let her tell you. She's giving you the blueprint to get her wet again. So do the blueprint. She's telling you. Also, be prepared for the hard truth. She might be like, hey, you know Tom in accounting? Yeah. Well, I've been with him for the last 6 months, and I didn't really know what to tell you. At least now you know. At least now you know. I mean, I'd rather know. I would rather know, So asking her those empowering questions and giving her space to tell you. And then either, okay, well, you and Tom have fun. Let's wrap this shit up, or fight for her. I wouldn't, but I mean, go ahead. But
it's your choice at that point. That's what it is. Like, that's the thing. Is like, if she's doing it, she's doing it. Like, you can't hide from it. If it's already happening, it's already happening. It's already out there. So why are we hiding from it? And so that's the big thing too, is like, she doesn't feel safe enough with you, secure enough, or she doesn't feel like you're secure enough to handle it. So she just doesn't tell you. She just hides it from you. But if you come up and say, okay, well, I've noticed some of this stuff going on lately. So, like, can we talk about it? Like, what exactly is going on? Like, what am I not doing? What could I be working on more? What did I used to do that kind of fell off? All that kind of stuff. And if that's where the conversation goes, at least at that point, it's out there. You have a choice. You faced it. It's cool. If you want to work on it, work on it. If you don't want to work on it, don't work on it. Get out of it. It doesn't matter. At that point, you can make that decision. But reality is, you can't hide from it. Like, stop hiding from your insecurities. Like, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I really working on myself the way I need to? Am I happy with myself? Like, her, irregardless, who cares? It's you who needs to be happy with you. And it's you who needs to be happy with the effort that you're putting in. If you're not happy with that effort, at the same time, if she expects something from you that you're not giving her and you don't want to do that, then it's incompatibility. And you have to look at all of these angles. You have to say, okay, am I compatible in this relationship? Am I happy in this relationship? Am I working on myself the right way? Am I insecure because of something I'm doing or because of something I'm not doing? Maybe she likes you fat, but you don't want to be fat anymore and you want to go get fit. That's an incompatibility issue. You have to look at all of these different angles and have the courage enough to make the right decision for you, because you're unhappy and you're going to continue to be unhappy in this relationship if you don't make some kind of a change.
Yeah. I'm also got a video queued up on, we flipped the whole thing on not so much men not giving women sex, because we always will, but I have a whole other video kind of talking about why men may OnlyFans, that like they look for sexual releases when they have a wife. And there's a lot of specific reasons, and a lot of it has to do with this idea of them not being good enough, and it's also as an idea of the woman not being good enough. So we got another video coming about this, and they do kind of pair together. They're flipped, but they do pair together because it's not only just men, but this is a men's channel, and so we try to educate men, uplift them, and encourage them to say, listen, it sucks. It is our fault. What can we do about it? And that's all, even in coaching, when the first questions you ask and I question is, where are you now? Where do you want to be? What's getting in your way? Those are the three questions I always open up with. And people are blown away. They're like, where am I now? Well, I'm in a sexless marriage. Where do I want to be? not in a sexless marriage? What's getting in my way?
Well, I
I
mean,
don't know.
obviously, that's not something we covered in this video because this video is all about the men's side of things. We could
Yeah,
go on a whole nother hour talking about the women's side. Like maybe
yeah,
she's too naggy, maybe she's narcissistic,
yeah.
maybe she let herself go and you're just not attracted to her anymore. And
Right.
like I said, these are all incompatibility issues. The fault could be on her side.
Sure.
I don't know. All I know is that if you work on yourself and you build yourself up and you improve yourself, you're going to be happy with whoever you become. And then it doesn't matter what decision you make. If you want to
Right.
go get in another relationship or if you just want to be single for a while, those are choices that you get to make at that point.
Yeah.
But you can't make those choices unless you're working on yourself. And so that's
Right.
what this video was all about. But there is definitely a flip side to it.
Yes. Yes, sir. This is a pretty good one. I hope everyone got a little bit of education. There's a full video on this we dropped a couple days ago, so you can take a look at that as well. And always, I don't do free sessions anymore. That door is closed, but you can book a call with me. It's a very nominal introductory call. We do go through an actual coaching session on this call, but it's more to see if what you're dealing with, what you're struggling with, is something that we can help you with. And if we can't, we'll refer you to maybe you need a therapist, maybe you need a specific type of coach that's in our network, but it's not me. But those calls, they used to be free. They're very nominal, guys. They're $49 now to jump on a call with me for an hour. Come on. It's $49. We're going to go through some of these beliefs, see if we can work with each other, and then kind of move from there. So we are getting to that level. We have some courses. Chase might talk about that a little bit more that we're about to drop. I'm very excited about that. I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, so we've been working on a major course community, building our own app from scratch on this stuff where you guys can actually jump in there. We have forums where we have these different types of discussions. We talk about confidence, we talk about charisma, we talk about all these different things. We're going to be probably doing one actual coaching call per week where you guys are going to be able to get into that. So we have a special deal coming for the founding members. Everybody who joins this month is going to get that special deal. That's dropping on Monday. So watch out for that. If you guys want to be notified of that, drop a comment below. And on top of that, jump into our Facebook group. That's where we're going to be announcing everything first off. Yes. And like I said, that this is the only time that you're ever going to get in for this price. This is the only time this is ever going to be available at this price. So make sure you guys jump in, become a founding member, and you guys are going to help us develop this stuff as we go. But we also have a couple free courses coming your way that you guys can opt in for too. And if you guys want to be notified of that, drop that comment below, jump into our Facebook group.
Sure.
This has been a good one, guys.
Have a good weekend, guys.